All right, so how old are you in the 60s?
60s. In 1966, I was 18 years old. I graduated out of White Bear High School and went on to college at the University of South Dakota. And during that time, there was a lot of stuff going on.
Sweet. All right, so what do you remember the most about this decade?
Vietnam conflict. I was worried about people. Majority of the boys in my class, once they graduated out of high school, they went to, they were either drafted or they joined the military. I held out. I had a 2S or a student deferment, so I went to college, and after 2 years they did away with that. Then they went to the lottery system. My lottery numbers, funny how I remember this, was 327, and they were drafting up to 300. So the Vietnam conflict was a major concern during that time for everybody.
All right. And what were the most popular songs of the decade, and did you like them?
Oh yeah, there was the Beatles, and well, I can remember in the 60s, the Five Stair Steps and the Jackson 5 were just barely starting on. Sam and Dave, a little rock and roll. Motown was just coming into town, so it was interesting, a lot of fun with music.
All right. What were some headlines you remember, and how did they make you feel?
Well, one of them, it was on a newspaper, it was concerned about the Vietnam conflict, and it was dealing with Hamburger Hill. It was a major battle over there where a lot of U.S. troops were killed, and I was concerned, of course, for our U.S. troops and what had happened. And during that time, there was lots of torment and college unrest, and the hippies and the anti-war people stepped forward. So there was a lot of concern for people in the war, and a lot of anti-war people. So there was a lot of unrest in the United States.
All right. What TV shows did you watch, and how would you categorize the type of shows that were on TV?
Well, I'm going to say that the TV shows were real, and that they communicated. There was no drugs, no sex, no violence. They all communicated a nice story about whatever the deal was, like Gunsmoke or one of my Maverick, or and The Wonderful World of Color, and shows like that. They were just real, and well, Ozzie and Harriet, those kinds of things. But they communicated and were light and fun and enjoyable.
All right. What movies were big hits during this decade? Did you see them? Why or why not?
Well, I'm not a real movie guy, but it did stick out in my mind. Clint Eastwood was just coming onto the scene, and he made a series of films dealing with it. The best one I liked was The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and then he made a few dollars more, a fistful of dollars, and things like that. So, I didn't see a lot of them, but Clint Eastwood and his movies stuck in my mind.
All right. Who were the big sports stars? How would you describe sports fan during this decade?
O.J. Simpson was big. Dick Butkus, John Unitas, Ray Nitschke from Green Bay, football stars. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Back then it was Lou Alcindor before he changed his name in basketball. So there were a lot of big names and a lot of good activities in reference to professional athletics too.
All right. What were some new popular inventions? Did you buy them? Why or why not?
New inventions? I don't know. I'm a slide rule guy. So most of you guys don't even know what a slide rule is. So I'm going to say the thing that stuck in my mind when I was coming into the 60s, we had TV. That was big in my family, and probably in the early 60s, 64 or so, color TV was monumental. If you had a color TV, that was big.
All right. How was school different during this decade than it is today?
Well, being around Youth of America, as I call them, I think the discipline, dress code, were completely different. Back when I was going to school, ladies wore dresses, wore skirts, blouses. The boys had jeans. It was dress pants and buttons, trousers. If you showed up to school without a belt, that was an automatic. You'd go home and you'd be stuck. You'd get detention. I think just the dress code and the discipline. When people talked to the adults, there was yes sir, no sir, and thank you ma'am, no thank you ma'am, in everything that we did. So things were a lot slower and a little lighter.
All right. What were the fashions of this decade? Did you follow them? Why or why not?
Well, the fashions, of course, when the hippies were there, the bell bottoms, you know, the big old tie-dye stuff, or blue jeans were always there, but they were probably coming in too a little bit more. But when we had public engagements or whatever, everybody wore suit and ties, and during activities at school, everybody wore trousers and dresses, but jeans were for outside of school or any activities.
All right. What were you afraid of during this decade?
I wasn't really afraid of anything. My concern was, where am I going to be when I went to college. At that time, I got a true SD firm. That was good for 2 years, and after that, they did away with it and began to draft everyone. So, it was good. I guess
What did you do for fun during this decade?
just hung out. Drove my buddies had a couple of roadsters, you know, hot rods, the 56 Chevs and the 58 Chevs. We just hung out in town, and McDonald's was big right over here, where it started.
Alright,
It opened up in 1964.
Alright. What did you love the most about this decade?
People were real. They took time to communicate. Went to church and they joined family.
Alright, thank you very much.